added and Matthew Loby's vice-captain joining Brad Ebert in the role. Power captain Travis Boakes says Wines is a valued teammate both on and off the field.
On the field he's probably a scary sort of bloke, you don't want to run into him, but then off the field he can be he loves to have a laugh, and you need those people around the club.
Now the FiveAA forecast, mostly sunny today, 35, tomorrow mostly sunny, 38, very hot Saturday, 41, then partly cloudy, 34 for Sunday and partly cloudy as well for Monday and Tuesday, temps of 32 and 28. More news as it happens on FiveAA.
1395, Adelaide's FiveAA. This is Peter Godfrey.
Good morning, 5:07, 19 degrees at the moment. Lovely start to the morning. Let's jump to the other side of the ditch, see what's happening in New Zealand. Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz. How are you, Selwyn?
Yeah, very good, Peter.
That's the way.
We survived, the North Island survived an attack from outer space last night.
That's one way to put it. Tell us a meteor. What happened?
It was just after 10 o'clock New Zealand time last night. What would that be? 7:30?
7:30 our time, last night,
Yeah. Something. And there was this, what I heard was this great big boom, like a large solid clap of thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And put it down to some thunder on the horizon there somewhere. But there was a great big blue and white flash of light that had preceded the boom, apparently. I never saw the light, but and it's been put down to a meteor. The New Zealand Herald, for example, it leads in with this, and it says a blinding flash of intense explosion and sonic booms experienced over much of the country last night were probably caused by a meteor, according to experts, Peter. So it's being debated as to its absolute location, but it seems like there was a lot of activity as far as sightings were concerned in the Hamilton area, but to the north of there. There was even a report last night via Twitter, so just bear in mind that Twitter obviously can get a little bit carried away at times, but that people had seen something come down and actually hit the ground around Cambridge, which is just out of Hamilton. Hamilton and Cambridge are about an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes drive south of Auckland.
Okay.
But that has not been confirmed. That was just speculated last night. But certainly the reports that have been confirmed are that the most likely cause of this explosion and blinding light, which should be the other way around, I guess, because the explosions, what we heard was like an explosion later, was due to a large meteor coming down somewhere in New Zealand, probably, the experts are saying, burning up in the atmosphere, Peter.
Wow, exciting, yeah. So do you sort of, when you heard the sound, did you head out to sort of take a look, or did just sort of, a bit of thunder after that?
It was an unusual sound. You know how thunder will roll and you get different volumes and different sound shapes to the sound, if it put it in that way. This was like an explosion more, like an absolute boom. Yeah. And that was the interesting thing, causing, like we kind of said, I was actually preparing for this piece, Peter, at the time. Okay. And I thought, what was that?
I noticed it was only half finished. Is that?
The last word kind of thing, as the meteor takes out the North Island or something. But and it wasn't just one light reported either. Apparently there were quite a few, and maybe the experts are kind of hinting toward that would be it breaking up in the atmosphere and fragments going. But as far as the size is concerned, too early to say yet. Yeah. I guess that will be analysed and debated. Yeah. And there is video and footage of it. If people want to have a look, they can go. Most of the news sites in New Zealand have got photos of it, and there's even like a video of it there as well. But you can go to the New Zealand Herald website, which is the nzherald.co.nz, and people can have a look and see there, and what you can see in that photograph is a very high, intense blue right at the main point of it, where the entry seems to be coming in, and then a tail, like a comet. in behind it that trapers and changes colour into a reddy kind of from a white to a reddy kind of gold
just
colour.
look at that picture here on the New Zealand Herald website, or the video there. Whether it's there's too many people trying to look at it, it's being a little slow to stream for me, so I might have a look at it a bit later.
Not doing the trick.
No.
But interesting little phenomenon there, Peter.
Yeah, indeed. Exciting things. All right, on to other interesting phenomena.
Of the humankind.
Politics. So they're all back at work there on your side of the ditch.
Yes.
Now, a couple of things there. Your Prime Minister John Key announced, firstly, his intention to reform your most significant environmental protection law.
Yeah, that's right. That's the first issue there. The government has been long expected to actually address this. The Resource Management Act is its official title. What it does, Peter, is it tests and puts tests there that are designed to strike a balance between progress and development, and the impact on the environment. And that's really the essence of the Resource Management Act. Now, it came into force way back in the 1980s, later 1980s, under the David Lange government. And the environmentalists really here in New Zealand, they credit it as being largely effective in minimising adverse impacts on the environment as New Zealand has progressed and grown and developed over those years. But the RMA, Peter, it really does have its critics, right from many household owners that are wanting to get changes, an extension to their house or changes inside can sometimes go through a bureaucratic loophole. So clearly there are issues there. But certainly those that the main critics here that are connected to the National Party and driven the expectations that change would be coming. They're the pro-business lobby groups and certainly the more neoliberal, the right-wing kind of economic bent. People in that to categorise in that way have really been leveraging the National Party, pressurising the National Party to do something about this since it came into office way back in 2008. So it's finally there the Prime Minister has said, we're going to do something about that. Now, what that is expected to do is to start to develop the legislative plans. It's going to be contentious here in New Zealand. Like I say, and said this before, it's seen as the law, really the main law that protects New Zealand's environment and finds a balance between the two. So the debates, you can imagine the Green Party really being strong on this and coming through and saying, look, New Zealand cannot lose one of the unique things it has in its brand, the environmental brand, the clean green image type of thing. And also the Labour Party, it has problems with the essence here of the spirit of the new legislation that will be drafted and put behind the House. And that spirit being that it puts the emphasis, Peter, far too much in the court of business and those who basically want to just develop for development's sake.
Okay. So this will be. So is it likely to be an easy task for John Key to make his reforms to it, or would there be enough opposition from the more left-leaning to stifle it?
Well, on the surface at the moment, all the parties have got to lay down their, particularly the centrist party's got to lay down their own opinion on it. Yeah. But it, looks like John Key's party, the Nationals, could get it through. They're short of a majority of one, and they have the Right Economic Party Act. The ACT Party has one person in Parliament, so they would scrape through with that potentially. But John Key is one where he tries to get more consensus amongst his other more friendly-leaning parties like United Future and certainly the Māori Party. The latter doesn't look like it would be interested in this for obvious reasons. Māoris are very much more connected to the environment here in New Zealand than perhaps the business lobbyists or the centrist United Future Party. That's the one that would swing around, I think. But let's with this, it's very much a case of the legislation being put before the House and then drilled down into what the consequences are. But remember, the big thing here is whether or not what this does is open the gates to widespread development in areas of New Zealand that are environmentally sensitive, and I think that's where most of the opposition is focusing on. But in the areas of tidying up the bureaucracy, I think there's a consensus across the majority in the House that something needs to be done there.
Brings to thought an interesting thing. Don't know whether the news has sort of come across there as yet. Only this week, our Premier, Labor Premier, has announced, would like to have a discussion on whether or not to develop a nuclear industry in South Australia, and gone to the extent of planning to set up a Royal Commission looking at the benefit of it. Now, he's sort of a big turnaround from a former very anti-nuclear stance. Has that had any discussion in New Zealand, and would it be looked on here as to whether your anti-nuclear position could be also threatened or attempts to roll that back?
There's two issues there. One, to answer your question, the debates pop up from time to time, but they don't get traction amongst the general direction of where things would go. New Zealand's anti-nuclear legislation, its anti-nuclear laws, is tightly responsive to nuclear weapons, not nuclear energy.
Okay, right.
So in a legal sense, it is possible for New Zealand to have nuclear energy in New Zealand, but the convention is that, no, New Zealand won't go that way. And that seems to be etched into the DNA of Kiwis. Politically, it would be a nightmare for any government to start to address that issue, and particularly with New Zealand having renewable energy sources, the thermal energy in the North Island, for example, that's all the steam under the volcanic areas, that's used hugely to generate electricity. Likewise in the South Island and some of the rivers in the North Island, the hydros, meaning the water, the rivers, the lakes, etc. There is huge infrastructure in developing electricity there. The demands of progress in the north, particularly around Auckland, when manufacturing and industry was huge in New Zealand comparatively, there was always talk that New Zealand's power needs in the north would require nuclear energy. That is not the case at this stage in the game, and certainly the big concerns here in New Zealand are watching the smaller Pacific Island states with the new nuclear technologies with generators the size of refrigerators being deployed into the Pacific Islands, and that is a genuine concern here in New Zealand.
Okay. Further on your Prime Minister, another issue that could impact on the credibility regarding Sky City and a convention development.
Yeah, this is a big one, and it's going on. It's not going away for John Key. John Key brokered a deal with Sky City Casino, basically, and was criticised for abandoning process and proper government tendering process on this. But what it looks like here is that it's starting to unpick, certainly for John Key's side of the thing. The deal was basically with the gambling giant Sky City, where Sky City would build and pay for a world-class convention centre to be built right in the heart of Auckland. For his part, the Prime Minister, Peter, he promised a change in the law so that the casino could increase the number of pokey machines on site, basically so it could milk more money out of its punters. John Key also paved the way for the government to shut down TVNZ7, which is part of the state-owned broadcaster TVNZ, for land that the casino wanted to build this convention centre on. So it was able to expand its footprint into land that TVNZ owned. So John Key did that, cut down TVNZ7, and that land was made available. But since the Prime Minister and his right-hand man, Stephen Joyce, another minister, paraded their plans before the public, Sky City's made a move and decided that the old TVNZ7 land, that it would build another hotel on that site, not the actual, not the convention centre. And then Sky City then says that it needs the government to trump up millions and millions, perhaps even up to 200 million for its part in getting the convention centre to a stage that is world class. So what it's saying is that the cost of building it has gone up considerably since the handshake was done with the Prime Minister over this thing. So John Key, he says that maybe the government will have to cough up that money. This is what he was saying at the early stages of this week. Otherwise, we're just going to get an eyesore sitting in the middle of Auckland. And then by yesterday, when the House was debating and he was under pressure in the House over this issue, he was saying, oh, well, it's it might not have to go that way. So he's all over the place. And in between that, with the Prime Minister saying that the government was going to front up some money earlier in the week, or most likely to, it's a more accurate thing to say there, Sky City shares went quite in demand, Peter. So, the government's playing quite a difficult game.
Yeah, really.
And the credibility of John Key and the handling of this whole thing has certainly taken a hit.
Yeah.
John Key was always thought of as a very swift and smart businessman, based on his background as being one of those real champions of the currency market trading. Merrill Lynch was his former employer before he went into politics. But certainly on these big deals, when you're going head-to-head with a gambling giant, perhaps he's not so good in steering them down.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Maybe he needs to get behind a good cricket team, which is our next topic, which we'll have a talk about at the moment, the World Cup cricket that New Zealand and Australia are co-hosting. We'll have a quick break, Selwyn, and we'll talk more about that in a sec.
Okay, Peter.
Thanks. Selwyn Manning's with us from livenews.co.nz.
Will Goodings.
If the Labor government in South Australia is putting nuclear power on the agenda, I would suggest they're open to suggestions. So let's give it to them. Daniel Wilson's the state political editor of the Adelaide Advertiser.
We've standardised the rail gauges.
Yes.
I think the next step in the seamless economy is standardising the beer sizes across the country.
Oh, now that is well and truly overdue. I mean, there's just madness at the moment.
Talking Adelaide with Will Goodings. Midday weekdays on 1395. Adelaide's 5AA.
Did you know by installing awnings you can reduce the temperature inside your home and save on energy? Stop the sun from hitting your windows and decrease the internal temperature with Victory awnings. If you're feeling hot and bothered and your air conditioning's working overtime, call Victory now. We can guarantee to keep your home cooler this summer and save you money with our summer sale.
Victory, curtains and blinds. 1313999.
BLD 251955.
If you drive a truck for a living, you know how costly a breakdown can be. Don't gamble on cheap parts and labour when you can have quality parts fitted by expert technicians, guaranteed. Scania Trucks Adelaide service all makes at great rates. Check these out. Rolling brake test, $95. Wiper blade replacement fitted from $58. Trailer wheel alignment, $199. You'll also find a full range of parts, accessories and merchandise. Scania Trucks at Wingfield. Top mechanical servicing without the top price.
When I spit water, I make a mess. When a Spitwater high-pressure cleaner spits water, there's no mess. Mess is history, because Spitwater pressure cleaners have more muscle. There are 80 different dirt and grime smashing models, all made here in Australia. And their backup is the best, with 5 service vans and a massive spare parts division. In fact, they can fix your cleaner on the spot. Yeah. So see Spitwater, 495 Grand Junction Road, Wingfield, and spitwater.com.au. Remember, Spitwater. That's what it does.
My husband is a god. He spoke with MJ Security, and I got my security door. But it's more than a door. It's a fortress made from InvisiGuard marine-grade stainless steel, which keeps us safe and the outside out.
Give your home super safety. Call MJ Security Doors. As Adelaide's leading InvisiGuard dealer, MJ Security Doors will custom build your doors, screens, timber doors or roller shutters for Adelaide's best price guaranteed. Visit mjsecurity.com.au. Peter Godfrey on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
And we're talking things across the ditch. Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz with us now. Selwyn, cricket. We may not see eye to eye on this one. Fist could be flying here.
You're not a cricket fan, Peter? Or
well, no, very true, very true. But, my green and gold colours will come through regardless.
Yeah, they will, for sure. Now, obviously everybody knows that the Australia-New Zealand, that we're both co-hosting the Cricket World Cup. And got to say, Peter, like you've got a bit of a window in on this. The chatter over this side of the ditch that the Kiwis might just pull off this tournament.
Ooh, okay.
So,
yeah. Go in confident.
The chatter is very confident. Now, it just played South Africa in a warm-up game here yesterday, basically, and New Zealand beat South Africa convincingly. So it's got people excited, but is this like the heats at the Olympics, where people hold back their best until the actual big events? It might be something like that, of course. But the Black Caps, that's the name of the New Zealand team, the cricket team here. They're also enjoying, Peter, it's the best form that they've had since really going back to those glory days when, the world champion bowler Richard Hadley would pass bowler there. Sir Richard Hadley is now, and where he would line up and just take people out with that fast bowling that he was doing. And batsman Martin Crowe, he was at the top of his form. Now that's back in late 80s, early 90s. Fantastic period for New Zealand cricket. Long gone, people thought, and perhaps never seen again. But under the leadership, the captain, Brendan McCullum, this new Kiwi side is something else, Peter. So that's a little bit of a warning there, perhaps. But we haven't really taken into consideration how Australia is forming up at the moment, Peter, and I thought I'd ask you that big question.
Oh, they're looking top shelf. He says with authority.
Top shelf. That's a very, very good response for a person who doesn't enjoy a game of cricket.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But there's, if nothing, there's excitement. But we got India and Pakistan on Sunday, and the excitement's been. There was what?
That's at the Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, 1,500 fans, Indian fans, giving the Indian team a rock star welcome yesterday. Apparently.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
It's getting exciting.
It is, and look at that game on Saturday, 2 days away, Australia versus England. Now, at the MCG, that's going to be an absolute classic. Now, New Zealand's opener too on Saturday at 11 New Zealand time in the morning. It begins is New Zealand versus Sri Lanka at Hagley Oval. Now, Hagley Oval's in Christchurch, Peter, so this is a big deal for Christchurch. It's still suffering from the consequences of the earthquake. And so this game is something else, and also Sri Lanka is very much feared here in New Zealand, particularly with the inclusion of one of its most scary bowlers that has arrived and fit and ready to go. So if New Zealand gets through Sri Lanka on Saturday, then the chatter might have some substance to it, but that's going to be the real test, I think.
Okay.
It's that opening game. And likewise with Australia and England, the old foes, the old foes, having a real go there. That Paul A looks like it's great, and people, can go obviously into the cricket websites to keep up with the scores and the places and wherever. But it's a big deal over this side, and no doubt it's a big deal.
Oh, absolutely, on this side as well, particularly. And just about selling out everywhere. I think that, most of the games are just either sold out or get them very close too. So obviously there's a huge demand to see the games.
Now, there was an interesting short story yesterday that emerged out of the University of Canterbury, which is absolutely cricket mad down in Christchurch, Canterbury region. And they'd created this robot to predict the outcome of the Cricket World Cup.
Oh.
A bit like, the Football World Cup a few years ago. There was Paul the Oracle.
That's right, the octopus.
He was an octopus in Germany, and he seemed to be right on the money most of the time. But anyway, over here, this robot, it predicted that Afghanistan was going to win the Cricket World Cup, and that story went big. So Afghanistan might be in for a show, according to the robot, but maybe artificial intelligence is not quite what it's meant to be.
Perhaps it's as good at picking a cricket winner as what I would be.
Stream producer.
Which I have to say wouldn't be too good, but never mind.
So you're saying that maybe the Australian team's not going to quite...
I think I did. I put my foot in it then, didn't I? May the best team win is all I'll say, to sit on the fence.
That sounds very good. You sound like I do when the All Blacks are playing the Wallabies in rugby, Peter. May the best team win. So maybe there's something in that too.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be good. I might get drawn into it, I reckon. It could well do. I'm easily drawn into a big, an exciting event, whatever it is. So.
Yes, the event. That's the event that's most important.
Absolutely. Although, boy, we've got a busy time here because we've got our Fringe Festival starting tomorrow, and that's huge, sort of our beginning of our Mad March, as we call it. So there's all manner of things happening around town. So
it's amazing.
Busy time. All right, Selwyn, thanks for joining us. May the best team win over the weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.
Well, hopefully it's a down-under win for both sides.
Yes, let's hope. That'll
be great.
Okay. All the best, Selwyn. Thanks, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Selwyn Manning in New Zealand. Head to livenews.co.nz for a whole lot more.
This is Adelaide's FiveAA.
Partly cloudy and 35 today. It's 5:30. I'm Anne Stone. There are reports the Sydney Police Station and officers could have been the intended targets of an alleged terrorist plot foiled just hours before it was due to be carried out. 24-year-old Omar Al-Kutobi and 25-year-old Muhammad Kiad have been charged with planning a terrorist act. They were arrested in Fairfield in Sydney's West on Tuesday, where officers also allegedly seized a machete, hunting knife and an Islamic State flag. The men will be back in court today. Calls for a royal commission into the mandatory detention of asylum seeker children have been dismissed by the Abbott government. Francis Keeney reports from Canberra.
The Human Rights Commission is calling for a judicial inquiry into the practice amid allegations of assault against children in detention. The report tabled in Parliament late last night